we've got three gentlemen who have really been with the shale play since its inception. And again, we wanted to make certain that everyone listening has a real good sense of the positive stories that are taking place. Because again, for those who are detractors, they think that the Commonwealth would be better without us. And I fully believe that today, at the end of today, you're going to get a real appreciation for how this industry has moved Pennsylvania forward. And you're going to hear it from all corners of the state and from different venues. So again, I'll be real brief. It's Jeff Kotula from the Washington County Chamber, Jason Fink with the Williamsport Lycoming Chamber, and ultimately Commissioner Alan Hall, who is the Susquehanna County Commissioner, and they will be providing you their insights as to how it's working in their communities, and we'll enter into a dialogue. So as Matt mentioned, please take your questions. I will look to get those answered by the three gentlemen here today. It's important. We appreciate your feedback. And with that said, I'm going to start with Jeff Kotula. So Jeff, welcome. If you can provide the crowd a little background as to who you are and what you're seeing, and then we'll enter into conversation. Jason, you'll be second, and then Alan, when you, as we go across the Commonwealth, you'll be third, sir.
Well, good afternoon, George, and all your participants today. It's a pleasure to be here. And George, thank you also for referring to me as a gentleman. I don't get that too often, but certainly appreciate that very much as well. Washington County, we like to say that the power to prosper is right under our feet. And ever since the first Marcellus well was drilled in Washington County, we've been doing nothing but benefiting from the industry. And our numbers really back that up. We are number one in terms of wells being drilled, number one in terms of Act 13 revenues. Just this past year, we got $6.6 million that we were able to reinvest in our community. And we're number two in production in the state. 17.5% of all production of natural gas in Pennsylvania comes from Washington County. We're very proud of that here, simply because it provides jobs and opportunities for our residents and helps really establish us as an energy leader, not only in the Commonwealth, but in the country as well. But we have to look at natural gas, not in terms of just in the economic benefits of it, but also what it means to our community. We have new residents that have moved in, and those people are building homes, buying homes, participating in local community events, coaching baseball. They've really become a great part of our community. And also in terms of our agricultural community as well, it's helped really prop up our agriculture and our farmers. I think this is helping with the next generation of farmers and agriculture businesses, because the energy companies have been very supportive of local 4-H programs, FFAs, our county fairs, and others. So natural gas has an all-encompassing effect on Washington County. Again, not only just our economy, but also our community as well. And George, I hope we can talk a little bit about that today.
We most definitely will. We'll hit upon some important topics, whether it's, as you already mentioned, agriculture and education, workforce development. But before we do that, let's hear from Jason as we go across the Commonwealth and really identify the three panelists that we have today. Mr. Jason, your turn, sir.
Thank you, George, and thanks everybody for joining us here today. Appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit about something that has become very important to our local economy here in Lycoming County. The natural gas industry, similar to what Jeff was sharing, came about here about now 10 to 12 years ago with activity in our market. We did not have any natural gas or oil activity prior to this, and we're very excited to be able to see how this has grown over the past decade or so. With regards to the investment by the industry, obviously job creation has been key for us, being able to get a better understanding as to what those jobs really meant to our community, especially at a time when you looked at when this industry started to develop. It was during an economic downturn, and being able to provide job opportunities for people to jump into a new industry was very fortunate for us to be able to have that in play. You look at the investment over the past decades, this industry has been engaged in the community, not only from the perspective of looking at where they're spending their dollars for the economic impact side of it, but also the community quality of life aspect. The industry has been engaged in activities such as Trout Unlimited, Wild Turkey Federation, those types of things that really provides what we value here in Lycoming County with regards to outdoor recreation amenities. So from that aspect of it, you'll see the industry involved with those things. They're involved in stream restoration, a number of different things here in our market, which is exciting to be able to see that it's just not the economic drivers that are important to this industry. It's also that quality of life aspect of it, because, from that end of it, those who choose to live here in Lycoming County have a great appreciation for the outdoor amenities. And that's something that this industry has really taken in and really found value in being able to support for us. In addition to that, if you look at it, there is that economic impact. You look at downtown Williamsport, the number of restaurants that we have here have grown significantly because of that. Our shops, even though we are in the midst of a pandemic, our shops are actually in good shape as well. And we attribute that to the industry being here, being able to see that investment that was made by local developers to take advantage of the opportunities that was coming from the gas industry. And it was them putting their own capital at risk and being rewarded from that, which is good to be able to see that. The other thing is we are in the midst of a pandemic. And I can tell you right now, you ride around a number of the hotels, and I'll be happy to say that there are a number of white pickup trucks in those hotel parking lots. And the fact of the matter is we need those right now. That is one of the hardest hit industries, the hospitality industry in particular. And you look at our hotels, they're actually running at 70% capacity. You look at a number of other markets across the country, across the Commonwealth, they're not able to say that. Why is it? We're fortunate enough to be able to have this activity here in our backyard. And it's just not the hotels. It's also the restaurants who are benefiting from it, because, they're not eating at the hotel restaurant. They're eating out at local restaurants here in the community. They're also buying things from different shops in the area as well. So from that aspect of it, it's been a great industry for us. We're looking forward to continuing that relationship with the industry and being able to see where we can grow and prosper from it. So with that, I'm looking forward to the rest of the conversation this afternoon.
Well, Jason, once again, thank you for taking the time, because again, you're really in the heart of the play. You've got the edges, if you would, in Washington County of the Commonwealth, and then we're going to hear from Alan from Susquehanna, but really Williamsport is right in that middle, and you have seen a tremendous impact. So I'm excited to talk to you about the membership growth that you've seen, industrial parks that have been developed. But before we do that, let's turn it to Commissioner Hall. I'll give him an opportunity. He's quite gone that unmute. I'll give him that opportunity. But Commissioner, again, thank you for taking time out of your day and sharing this story, because, again, that's what's fun about today. Three friends, it really is the opportunity to have a conversation with, and just each of you has had that growth that has been impactful in your community. So, Commissioner, if you want to give a little bit of a background on yourself and what you're seeing, I'd appreciate it, sir.
Well, thank you, George, very much. I appreciate the opportunity to be with you today. And it's a pleasure to be part of a panel, just to be associated with Jeff and Jason, two really brilliant and great gentlemen. And, I'm glad to be on the show with them today. So, I've been in county commissioner now I'm in my third term, 9th year. So I started when the gas industry first came to town. And everything that Jeff and Jason's been saying about, what happens in their communities is exactly what happened in our communities. But there's a little bit of difference for us. We're a very rural community. Our largest industry before the gas business came here was the bluestone industry, seconded by the farm industry. And the largest farm maybe had 90 head of cattle, and that was it. But a lot of those farms were failing. There wasn't a lot of opportunities for young people to stay. Most people would leave. and would not come back. They might retire and move back, but they go elsewhere to find better jobs that they can go to work at. This industry has come into this area and it's created educational opportunities. It's done things in our local schools. It's done things with a local college. We had no local college. Today, because of the gas industry, because of Cabot Oil and Gas, we have a local college that's preparing kids for this industry. We have a CDL program. We have another educational program at our Career Technology Center, training people again, not only for this industry, but to have the opportunities to go into other industries and have a great life. This is a program that came into our communities that has brought the ability for a farmer to come to me that's 80 years old, an elderly lady, and say, you know, thank you very much. You know, we can now save our farm and we don't have to slice it up and sell it off to pay our taxes. We can keep our farm, we can expand, we can make things do great. We have businesses that have just boomed, skyrocketed. And I'm not talking about the gas business itself. Yes, the gas business has hundreds and hundreds of jobs. We have kids getting out of school that are walking in and getting careers that are paying $50, $60, $70, $80,000 a year with benefits. Well, you just didn't have that here before. And we have local businesses like hardware stores that have tripled in size because it's a trickle-down effect. And the revenue that comes back to the state and to the local communities from this entire process is unbelievable. We're talking like $1.8 billion the gas industry paid in a tax to the state to get funneled back into programs. We're talking about over $40 million back to Susquehanna County alone, county government. We're talking about townships and boroughs receiving funding through the Act 13 to take and build buildings, do infrastructure, do things they could have never done before. We're talking about the ability for the county to give $5 million back in taxes to the community out of this money, which is unbelievable. We have not raised taxes since 2005 in this county. And this is a perfect reason what's helped us to do this, by able to having funding to do the things we couldn't do before. So there's a lot of moving parts to this: land value, community, the outreach that businesses do because they have the funding now, the education, you know, the townships and the jobs. And I'm hoping we can get to that today.
Well, and you nailed it on its head, because there are so many benefits. And again, we put a show like this together so we remind people of my age who are forgetful about the benefits, and for the person that we just hired last month to understand, wait a minute, I only know Williamsport one way, and that means it was booming. Or I'm so familiar with South Point, and it's always been like that. And the reality is that is not the case. And it's at times like this that we get the touch point to say, you know what, let's remember 10, 12 years ago what it was like and where we are today. And Commissioner, I ended with you. I'm going to start with you, and I'm not going in alphabetical order, but we all touched upon it, and something that may be unique. It's the agriculture side. You know what I mean? You know, we're Farm Bureau partners. You know, Donna Williams is a wonderful woman. We partner with her in making certain that the outreach is there. And, you know, again, this year when the fairs and festivals were canceled, we were able to step in as an industry and do some things virtually. But I think that you and I have spoken in the past, you hit upon it. It was that land value and the growth of the farms. There's a perception that farmers get pushed around. That's false. And that their land is less valuable today. So why don't we start there? I see some questions are coming in, but why don't we start there, and I'll go to you, Alan, and on what you're seeing specifically. You mentioned the 80-year-old farmer. How has it been really in depth, the benefit, sir?
So let's talk about property value first, because everybody likes to talk about the money. So before the industry came here, you're looking at property values for farms, $500, $750 an acre. When the gas industry comes, you got property values well over $10,000 an acre. That's the value of this property. So And then you have the individuals that have these farms that take and sign the gas lease, and they start receiving the royalty payments, and they sign and get the bonus payments. I think the magic number right now for Susquehanna County is around $2 billion in bonus payments and royalty payments to the people of Susquehanna County that own land. We've got 46,000 people in this county. I mean, $2 billion. I mean, what that did for these farms, it built new barns, bought new tractors, allowed them to expand their herds. It allowed them to grow more crops. It allowed them to take and build new homes, renovate their homes. It was unbelievable the effect it had on the farmers in this area. And people said, well, you know, they come in, they're going to put a pipeline across. When that pipeline's done and gone, it looks better than it did before they started. There's no issues there.
I'll send that over to you, Jason. Jeff, get yourself ready. So again, from that agriculture standpoint, I think people forget it. It's one of Pennsylvania's top industries. And you might see the city of Washington or Williamsport, but around it, it's beautiful farmland. And help me give a little bit of an understanding, Jason, as to the Williamsport, Lycoming County area from an agriculture standpoint.
Yeah, you know, Alan touched on it, and we experienced the same thing here with regards to the farming community. And we were fortunate enough to be able to see that because I actually, you know, when I was a kid, worked on a farm. And so I had a great appreciation for what it takes to be a farmer, especially nowadays. You know, it's not, you know, an easy task to be able to take and operate a farm and own it and put at risk your life. And so from that aspect of it, being able to see the industry come in and to be able to see the royalty payments going to these individuals, very hardworking individuals, that, you know, it is true. You know, it is, you know, waking up before dawn and working past dark most days, especially this time of year. The fact of the matter is, you know, they are now able to enjoy a better quality of life because of this, you know, and the thing about it is they're not taking and going and spending it on places and activities outside of the area. It's being spent here in the community. You know, they're reinvesting in their farms. They're upgrading their technology. They're getting new equipment. You know, that's the exciting thing, is to see that they are not just walking away from the farming way of life. They're able to reinvest in that and actually do it at a profitable manner now. And that's exciting to be able to see that, because for so long, this industry has not been able to do that, at least here.
Understood. Jeff, you're on, sir, because again, I know there's a big impact in Washington County.
Yeah, there is, George. And first, let me correct you on one thing. Your comment earlier about farmers being pushed around. I can assure you in Washington County, we have some very shrewd farmers that aren't going to be pushed around because they value their land. They value their property. Many of these farms have been in families for generations. And what the energy industry has allowed them to do is keep those farms in their families, to buy new equipment. And, you know, just the equipment and farm machinery sales and stores that has opened up in Washington County has been phenomenal because, of course, that's the secondary and even tertiary effect of this industry. It's not just assisting our local farming and agriculture community, it's also affecting, you know, retail, industrial, and others that are purchasing equipment, that are providing new jobs. So just in that industry alone, agriculture, we've seen a huge impact in terms of people buying new equipment and reinvesting in their farms. And that money, of course, goes to our local banks that reinvested, of course, into new housing stock and things of that nature. So again, that one industry itself, coupled with the natural gas industry, has had a huge economic impact in our county.
And Jeff, I have to concur with you. You know, again, Cabot was involved in a pipeline that went into Lancaster County, and the narrative being portrayed by the media was, oh, the poor farmers, and at worst, the poor Amish farmers who don't have all the positives of society. And I will tell you, to your point directly, the farmers, Amish or not, are outrageously shrewd, They know what they're doing, because I think it goes to the point that Jason made. It's hard work. They value the input of a dollar, and they see that. So again, I'm with you. So I please don't take it the wrong way. Those farmers
I didn't take it the wrong
on
way
their
at all.
game.
You had a good point, George. You had an excellent point.
Yeah. So let's stay with you, Jeff, on that side of the notion. Again, so, we see we see the farms and what's happening there. And, again, from a downtown standpoint, having the opportunity of some of your farmland being developed into industrial parks. I mean, you've got the Cat's Meow in South Point. Talk to us a little bit about commercial and industrial development that has come along with the industry.
I would argue that one thing our county has been very good at has been planning for the future. Now, 15 years ago, none of us could have saw the Marcellus Shale or even its impact come about. But we, as a county, have always tried to prepare for something big. And I think that's where South Point and our other business parks come along, because our commissioners and private sector were willing to invest in the future. So when the Marcellus opportunity came along, we were ready to go with available commercial, industrial buildings, lay down areas, and other ways that we could help market the industry to come to our county. And I think that's a very salient point as well, because you have to welcome the industry to the county. We have had the good fortune of being open arms to the industry. We believe in what they're doing. We support them. And that resonates to others that want to come to our county and benefit from the proximity to the producers. So ourselves as a chamber, working with our county partners, have always marketed that Washington County is a great place to do business if you're in the energy industry. And that transfers to marketing our county as a whole as a good place to do business. So we've been very successful in that regard. South Point's become kind of the center of the energy industry in the greater Pittsburgh region, but that's not to dissuade any others from coming into other areas of the county that meet their needs for the industry.
Now, Jeff, if I'm not mistaken, you do an annual sort of, the economy of the county and how it's going. And right. I didn't partake in this year's event. I think the last one would have been 2019, but the investment that you've seen at the county level, could you give us a little insight in that one?
From various years to years, it can average anywhere from $500 million to $1 billion each year in new investment in Washington County, which includes the industry itself. So it's been substantial.
Yeah. And again, you said it takes planning and hard work. So Jason, from the same standpoint, what I mean? What you're seeing, again, I know I'm familiar with new parks being developed in Lycoming County. Give us a little sense as to what was there already and what's been developing and how you're seeing it from that commercial industrial standpoint.
The nice thing about this industry was that for a number of years, we were out marketing land that was challenged. From our end of it, we didn't have the resources to be able to build out true industrial parks. We had land, there was utilities in the neighborhood, and that was about it. I mean, I hate to say it that way, but that's what we had at the time. We had, fortunately, the industry came in. Our Industrial Properties Corporation had somewhere in the neighborhood of about 400 acres of land. By 2011, all of that land was sold, and it has been developed, which is great to be able to see that. And the nice thing is, at this point in time, it's all in the tax rolls. From that aspect of it, everybody wins, because we were able to get it early on into the KOZ program, which would allow us to be able to justify selling it at a low price for the infrastructure that needed to be brought to the property. Well, fast forward, we sold it off. The infrastructure's there. And not only does that infrastructure benefit just the industry, it also benefits the residents in the area as well, because they're consumers of the water, the sewer, driving down those prices from that aspect of it. They're not you look at the ancillary businesses that have spun off as well. We have a natural gas power plant here in Lycoming County because of that. That would not have been here if we didn't have the industry here. And while it's not a massive employer like a coal power plant is, it's a great employer and a great community partner to be able to have them here. So from that aspect of it, we've seen that that development. The nice thing is today, we now have resources to invest into other properties to be able to work with community partners to be able to get projects done. So from that aspect of it, it's a win-win all around.
And to stay on that just for one moment, I know that one of the pieces that you and I have discussed in the past has been having those power plants also then means you have an availability of inexpensive energy. So again, what goes into developing economic development is, to your point, do we have the water? Do we have the land? Do we have the workforce? Do we have the energy to run them? And hopefully that's something you're seeing that's benefiting your region.
We have, and it's not only just the cost, it's the reliability aspect of it. More important than just price is reliability on energy. And so from that aspect of it, I can tell you now having a power plant in our backyard provides that reliable, steady power because PPL has been able to reinvest in the infrastructure from that aspect of it. And being able to have that infrastructure reinvestment, PPL's done a great job in our backyard, making sure that all the lines are up to date. They've got all the triggers in place to be able to make sure that there's nothing that's going to flip that puts somebody out, even for, a second. That little blip shuts down a major manufacturing operation, and it's very costly. So from that aspect of it, you're exactly right. Being able to have that isn't just, hey, we've got gas in the backyard, we've got low price. It's also reliability.
Good point. Well taken. Alan, from your standpoint, again, more rural in Susquehanna County. You work with Tony Ventello, with Bradford, and likewise, you are on mute, so before you go and answer it, don't miss that one. But the idea of everything you're seeing from a commercial and industrial standpoint, you're seeing growth, I imagine, across that area.
Absolutely. I mean, we've already seen growth come in an area south of Montrose with the Diaz operations. Went in and put a small industrial park in and has some businesses in there already. So we've seen that growth. We've seen stuff with RHL that's done stuff over at the Gibson area to put some growth there. We've seen businesses pop up at other areas throughout the county in the growth. We've been advertising. If you remember, a few years ago, we did the Susquehanna County's Open for Business. We did a program trying to bring businesses into the county. We feel we're at the point now that we have a lot of the infrastructure in place now that we can start to offer good sites for companies to come in here and use this natural gas as part of their processing to take and get some products to market.
And what I'm familiar with is you're right on the New York border. And to take Jason's piece, I'm not so certain their energy is as reliable there, given the lack of infrastructure. And again, you're in that spot where you can entice companies to come over into the Commonwealth and locate in Susquehanna County. You're probably seeing activity along those lines?
Oh, absolutely. We see not only companies, but even people from across the line that want to come to Pennsylvania. Of course, the natural gas, the ability for us to take and provide those services at a more reliable and lower cost is a huge impact for the businesses, but also the tax structure in this county versus the neighboring county in New York State there's such a huge difference that people are, it is definitely a seller's market for properties right now in this county. There's not enough properties for sale, and there's buyers coming from every place.
That's a good problem to have. That's a good problem to have. Jason, I'm going to start with you on this one because the question has to do with it's more so on the education front Now, again, you guys could take it into a workforce if you want also, but there's a question out there saying, what have your areas experienced as it comes to education from K through 12, as well as secondary? Now, I'm very familiar with Penn Tech and what you guys have going on. Why don't you start there, and then we'll get to Jeff and come back to Alan.
The nice thing about this industry also has been the understanding that it's that community partner aspect of it. You look at what you've done to be able to make students aware of careers within the industry. Those kids who are in that middle school, high school, that, they need to start thinking about what their future is going to be at that point in time. Making the industry available for tours. We've taken advantage of that. We have an education committee, and we've got a great partnership with our local school districts. Whenever we've needed tours, you pick up the phone, you arrange a tour, and give them the opportunity to see, where those things that they're learning about in school, that math, that science, that STEM, where that's actually going to be applicable within their everyday life. And it's not just your industry. I mean, we do take them to other things as well, give them the opportunity to see manufacturing operations and other types of services that we have here. But, this industry is one that is for somebody who doesn't want to go to college. And I know we're going to talk about Penn College, but for that kid who's like, you know what? I don't want to go on to school. I'm done with my 12 years and I want to get into the workforce. That's a great opportunity for a kid to be able to step in there and work their way up through. And, the exciting thing is I actually have a kid, she graduated a couple of years ago from Williamsport. The downside of it is I'm paying for college right now, whereas she has a very good friend of hers, actually a couple of them that got jobs in the industry right out of high school. And you know what? One just bought a house. And, that's the type of thing that this industry does provide, that opportunity for the kid who's, I need on the job training and skill sets. And I want to go into the workforce right after school because they can work their way up into the industry. So that's exciting to see, but for those kids who do need to be able to have that opportunity to go to school, we've got Penn College here in our backyard. They're a great partner with the industry as well. Everybody knows how they've been able to work, not only just here in Lycoming County, but in, counties across the Commonwealth. And, they've gone and really helped other schools be able to understand how they're doing it. And it's nice to be able to see that we have an institution here that has been able to benefit from this industry being in our backyard. And it's been able to grow their presence and really shown the value of a STEM education for those who need to go on to school beyond just high school.
It looks like we have somebody in the audience who's familiar with what you have going on, because the question is, could you ask Jason about the investment from Shell, i.e. the facility that's being built on the western part of the state, which is the cracker. But it's my understanding that Shell has invested in Penn College likewise.
Yes, they have. Actually, that's the exciting thing about this industry. Trying to get people to understand that what's taking place in Western Pennsylvania is going to benefit the rest of Pennsylvania. You look at what's happening in Butler County, which is great. If it could take place in my backyard, I think we all would say, hey, we all want it. But guess what? It's not feasible. It doesn't make sense. But we are still going to be a beneficiary of it. Shell has partnered with the school. They've invested in some very technical equipment on the plastics end of it to be able to provide them with educational training tools to be able to get students what they need in the plastics and polymer world, which is great to be able to see. They gave, I forget exactly the dollar amount, but a rotational molding piece of equipment is not cheap, I can tell you that. And so being able to have a state-of-the-art piece of technology that students will be able to work on, and they'll go into places where they'll be hired to go take on jobs. and you'll find that same piece of equipment. It's not like they're getting a hand-me-down piece of equipment. This is state-of-the-art investment, and it's great to be able to see those types of partnerships being able to provide students the opportunity to learn hands-on. And, you know, that's not directly going into the natural gas industry. That is an offshoot of it, but it's not directly into it.
It was fascinating because I had a chance to take a tour when the facility, when that location in the school opened, and to look at that equipment, and back to your point, to understand that that's cutting edge technology that you can come into, learn how to do those extrusions, all those different molding pieces. And the conversation was, those are jobs that you're looking at 100,000 when you're said and done. Again, very impressive. And I love that idea that you're pointing out, which is something that's happening on the western side has had a huge ripple into Williamsport. And I don't think, again, people understand how Shell is investing in Penn College. So, Jeff, I want to toss it over to you, because I know, again, from the pre-K to 12th grade, there's a huge investment. You've got companies from the likes of Range and EQT and Williams making investments. I have to imagine that you're seeing some real nice opportunities from the education standpoint.
Oh, we are, George. And, you know, I think one of the biggest items that goes unnoticed about the energy industry is the fact that it has helped to dispel the notion that you have to go to a four-year college to be successful in your career. And I think that's something that has had a tremendous impact on us, not only in Washington County, but I think the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania itself, because the industry is paying good jobs for those that want to explore a two-year technical degree or get out and starting their career right out of high school. Those that are, you know, mechanically inclined, that's when it goes into welding. And I think that the most important thing is it shows that there's opportunities for everyone and for all skill sets to be involved in the industry. George, you know, the industry needs attorneys and PR and accountant and all those guys, but it also needs welders and guys that work on the sites and frackers. So it's an industry that's had impacts throughout our county's educational system. I can also speak to the fact that the industry has been engaged in our educational system here in Washington County too, not just in terms of looking for future workforce development, but also just lending their time and to come in and spend time in our classrooms to talk about careers, to volunteer at Little League games or high school football games. So it's had a great impact all around, because the more that we expose the industry to our younger people, particularly in the area you mentioned, middle school, early high school, the more they become interested in it and see the vast arrays of opportunities that are happening in the energy industry in our county and region.
Understood. Well stated too, because again, I truly do think that you're hitting a point, which is, Jason mentioned, you don't necessarily need to go to college. If you want to, there's opportunities. But to your point, we see the trades booming, and it's facilities like the shell cracker and pipelines and compressor stations. You know, again, electricians are needed, welders, steam fitters. I mean, all of those are doing very well. Again, it's necessary and needed. I like talking to the students because they're excited. They want to work with their hands. And sometimes it's events like this that we got to get the parents to understand they don't necessarily have to go to Pitt or Penn State. They can go to Penn College, or they could step straight into the industry. Commissioner Hall, I mean, there's no doubt that, you know, your county has seen this probably, to my experience, the most. I mean, to the School of P&G that Lackawanna College put into the CDL school at Elk Lake, and, you know, your own background in trucking. I mean, I have to imagine it's worked very well, and I'd love to get your insights on this, sir.
Well, yeah, this is, you know, again, this is another amazing story for me. When you talk about our county, we never had a formal education, colleges or universities in our county. You know, we had our 6 school districts, and if you wanted to go to college or go someplace, you had to leave the area and go someplace else. But, you know, it was the foresight of the industry and And again, kudos to, you and Cabot Oil and Gas for working with Lackawanna County to get that School of Petroleum and Natural Gas started in our county, to know that we needed to train people for this industry and give people a good chance to be able to get great paying jobs and provide a good life for their family. So, I mean, it's just amazing that school's here. And what most people don't realize is you guys just didn't kind of help start it. But my last count that I thought, you guys did a bunch of fundraisers to help keep them substantially going. And the last total I had was you'd raised over like $4 million for that college to keep them moving forward and keep the tuition down and getting equipment. So, hats off to that. And, then we go to the CDL school at Elk Lake Career and Technology Center. Again, another move by, Cabot Oil and Gas and the industry, and partnering with some other companies to say, listen, we have a huge need in this county. We need hundreds of truck drivers, and there's nobody that's qualified to drive. There are no CDL drivers. So creating that school and having the foresight to put that in place and get this program going and put opportunities for people, because these aren't just jobs that people can use in the industry, the oil and gas industry. But listen, they can get their CDL license, they can go to work for UPS, they can go to work for a freight company, they can go into their own private business. So there's all kinds of opportunities. And, both these programs are just doing fantastic thanks to the industry being here.
I can guarantee you what has been the most rewarding about the Lackawanna School of Petroleum and Natural Gas is when operators in Oklahoma, in the Permian, are getting our employees. I mean, that to me really puts you on the map and shows that the training you're getting there, if you want to be, a young person out of school and you want to go explore, you can go to the other areas. But what we all know is when they're ready to come home, be with their families, they're going to be able to come back to Pennsylvania because the play is here from Susquehanna all the way down to Washington. It is impressive. And again, we just knew that there wasn't a CDL school in the county, and you had to go to Scranton or into New York to get that training and to make it part of the high school curriculum and build that school on school property and partner with Elk Lake, a real win-win that's taking place. So.
And George, you hit something, a nail on the head for me that I wanted to go back to is, we have created such an opportunity for our young people to take and go through the Career and Technology Center or go through the petroleum natural gas business or college and get the certifications and degrees they need. But we've given them an opportunity to see the world. A lot of kids in our communities never get outside our communities or outside. If they get outside our county, that's good, but really never get outside the state. But we've given them an opportunity now. And I know several young men and women that, like you said, they've gone to Oklahoma, they've gone to the Dakotas, they've gone to Texas. They have had such an opportunity to open their eyes as to what's going on around this country. It's unbelievable. And that's all because of this industry.
Again, I'm looking at the three of you, and I've got another idea in my head for a question, but I'd just like to turn it to either Jason or Jeff and just ask you, like, what are we missing? What do you want to make certain that people understand in the 10 years time frame of things that have happened that may be overlooked, that may be forgotten, or not even again directly impacted to the industry, but has actually lifted the county that you're in? So Jeff, I'll start with you. You're off mute.
Sure. As I listen to these two gentlemen, Jason and the commissioner, there's a common theme I think that's coming across, and that is about partnership. It's working with the industry, and that could be really any industry that has a major presence in your county, but it's really going out and being active and working with them. They come to us, and you have to be receptive of what their ideas are, because we want them to succeed. On the same token, they want us to succeed as a county as well. And that takes a true partnership. So the common theme I see coming across today is the willing to work with the industry, the willing to be partners and true partners in the industry to not only, just reap the benefits of them being there, but trying to position them for long-term success. And that's what we've tried to do here in Washington County. I'm sure that's what our friends in Lycoming and Susquehanna like to do as well, is to position the industry for long-term success. We don't want this to be a 15, 10-year play. We want this to be a lifetime of opportunity for our residents and a lifetime of benefits for the energy industry in our county as well.
Thank you, Jeff. Jason?
And George, actually, I'm going to step back to that education a second, because one thing I neglected to mention is the opportunity that you brought with the MOLU. I think that is something that almost got missed in this conversation, that I think is going to be very important once we get schools back into the swing of things. We had a taste of it, and I know that the educators were excited about it, because while it did focus or emanated from your industry, the STEM skill sets that it focused in on wasn't just applicable to your industry. It applied to a number of different applications. And so from that aspect of it, I think that's something that I wanted to make sure we got mentioned, because that's something that you all helped spearhead. And I know we're looking forward to a point in time when we can start bringing that back out to schools. So, but with regards to your question, I will tell you one thing that I think is missed, that we didn't really touch too much on, is the involvement that you have as an industry on things that aren't directly associated with what you do. The quality of life here in our area, you look at it, we've got the community theater, we've got the community arts center, those are arts related activities. And when you see that the industry sponsoring this event there, this play, this performance, that's something that it doesn't directly benefit you. Let's be honest. It's from the perspective of, we're just a community partner. And as Jeff had mentioned, it is the fact that this industry is partnering for things that don't directly benefit you. It is something that, yes, it does enhance the quality of life. It gives your employees an opportunity to experience something, but 170 seat community theater league is what we've got. That I know I've seen sponsorship from this industry in events in the past when they've been able to operate. So, those are the types of things that I think, seeing the arts, the support that you provided for the arts, for other cultural amenities here in our area is very important, and I think needs to be recognized as well.
I appreciate you picking up on that, because again, it really is that notion of being a partner that Jeff talked about, and hearing from our employees and their families. And, in our area, it's the Dietrich Theater, things of that nature where we're investing, but we know it's statewide. And it's so wonderful to work with the likes of Range and Southwestern, Williams, Seneca, EQT. I mean, they're all investing, as you're hearing, in these partnership projects. And again, I appreciate you bringing that up. A lot of those companies I mentioned are the partners on the MOLU, and that's just a mobile lab that comes into schools 4th through 6th grade that really focuses on, to your point, on STEM education. And, I'm married to an educator. She understands teaching in the schools, and the tests are so important. But we also have gotten away from some of the STEM related functions. And to be able to bring something like this that allows for hands-on learning, it's impressive. But because it's hands-on learning right now, it's sort of, we're not rolling that into many locations given COVID. But we do look forward to those opportunities. And like I said, I've heard from the Swins of the world and the Williams, they're excited to get it back out and get it running. Alan, you had a chance to listen to sort of some of the things that were maybe not being stated. I want to give you that opportunity, and I'm gonna pivot from Alan when we're done, because a question came in regards to the presidential election. So Alan, I'll let you start, and I got a question in regards to outreach.
So let me first start out with, community. So we already talked about the college and what the gas industry did to bring that to our area. We have a brand new hospital that is probably 6, 7 years old in Montrose because the gas industry helped bring that to our community. We had an old hospital that was falling down. It was past end of life, and thankfully Cabot Oil and Gas stepped up and was very generous and helped to get it kicked off the ground and got that big initial push that we needed to get that brand new hospital going. So again, that's big. You talked about our library. We got a brand new library in Susquehanna County. They were fortunate to get donors to put up close to $5 million to do that. But we don't talk about, we don't say enough how we thank the industry, especially Cabot, for donating a van so they can deliver the books and go from each one of their branches. That's all a big thing. And we don't talk about the tire cleanups that the industry has helped with, that has funded and went out and supported cleaning up tire dumps around the community and helping the interfaith with all the less fortunate. But when you go back to the local businesses, and I wanted to touch a little bit on this, and Jeff and both Jason talked about the trickle down effect of what this industry does. And this is a great example here. We've got 2 local businessmen, Adam Diaz and Robert He, that both deal with the oil and gas industry and have built businesses from that industry to take and do the things that they do. And because they've been successful and they've done well, they've turned around and done some pretty special things. We had a school that, that one of them went into and bought brand new sneakers for all the kids in the school. Another one went into another school and did pretty much the same thing, bought coats. The giving back by these people that have gotten this money is unbelievable to the communities and to the nonprofits and the people and what's going on. But, if you take a look at, our county itself, the county buildings and the operations of the county. 2012, when I took office, our county was $13 million in the red. Our pension fund was about 43% funded, and we had all kinds of issues and problems. Our building was 200 years old and falling down around us. We still had a coal furnace that was 110 years old that heated the place, that a guy was shoveling coal in twice a day, 7 days a week. So where we've come from that is we've put over $10 million into the courthouse, and it's all modern. We have 2 natural gas boilers. We were able to get natural gas to the courthouse. We have 2 boilers that are running clean and efficient. We put air conditioning systems through that are gas fired. We've been able to take and fix our technology and do all those things without raising taxes and borrowing money because of this industry. But at the end of the day, we're now in 2020, and today we have a county that hasn't raised taxes since 2005, gave over $5 million in tax breaks back to the taxpayers, has taken and fixed all the infrastructure of its facilities without borrowing any money or raising taxes to do it. And currently we are building a close to $19 million public safety facility without raising taxes or borrowing any money. Now, just stop and think about all those expenditures. Now, all this stuff would have to be done at some point in time. So without this industry and this money flowing through the way that it does, we would have had to borrow money. Our taxpayers would be on the hook for $50, $60 million. And they're not on the hook for a penny. So it's pretty amazing. I could spend an entire day telling you about the benefits and what it's done for this county, for the people of this county. And people would just be awed with the things that are going on here. So, I thank you for the opportunity to at least share part of the story of what's going on and all the great things being done.
And it's with that point of sharing the story that, one of the questions came in from a member of the audience saying, with this being an election year and your communities being little microcosms of what's going on, has there been any has there been any outreach from either side of the campaigns to take a look and see what's going on, whether it be Biden or Trump. The idea of asking folks like yourself who were on the ground seeing the upside, has anyone done any outreach to you?
Well, George, what I see from my side, in this county is, the one side, of course, is all pro-gas, and those people are in constant contact with us. Our state legislators, our federal legislators, they're in constant contact with us all the time. People from, the Trump campaign, they're talking to me all the time about it. The support is there. It appears that the other side, from what we understand, is not so gas pro. They're more gas negative, and nobody ever reaches out. Nobody has the conversation. So that's the unfortunate part about this is I kind of go back to a testimony I did many years ago in Harrisburg on the Act 13. The Act 13 funding was put in place, and we call it a tax, they call it a fee, whatever you want to call it. But there was a Senate hearing I was asked to speak at. And when I went to that Senate hearing, there was like 6, 7 senators sitting up there. And you could tell which ones were from which party. And, finally, after about, 2 hours of questions and answers, I finally asked a question. I said, well, how many have actually read the Act 13 legislation and all of those documents? And there was only like 1 or 2 hands that went up. So if you don't know what's going on, but you're making the decisions, you're not really doing the best you can for your constituents and the people that you're supposed to be supporting. And, I just hope more people, I hope a lot of people see this. I hope a lot of people have the opportunity to start asking the questions and saying, what really is going on? Because the stuff that's getting published, a lot of it is not true.
Jeff or Jason, any feedback on that question?
Sure. I think what we've been successful here in Washington County is trying to change the conversation a little bit, that jobs and investment and really energy is a nonpartisan issue. And I know that, please don't think that's naive on my part, but for the 15 years of the initial Marcellus Shale expansion in Washington County, we had 2 Democrat commissioners leading the charge here. Now that subsequently has just changed to a Republican majority, but they see things the same exact way as our Democrat partners have. That we've looked at this as a way to promote jobs and investment, and that to me is both sides should be willing to take a look at that, not just one. And I think we've seen that in Washington County a lot, that again, jobs and investments are not political, and our country's energy independence should be nonpartisan as well.
And I do think you're seeing it, to your point, Jeff. I mean, sometimes it wants to be Republican, Democrat, but that idea, it's pro-energy. And, you look at the unionized workforce that, again, understands the value of pro-energy and its pipelines and compressor stations. So
Right.
Not to cut you off, Jason, anything on your end, sir?
Yeah, no, I actually agree with Jeff on this one in terms of, trying to take the Democrat, Republican, Independent, whatever party you are with, and more focus on the fact that this is about jobs. This is about reliable U.S. generated energy, reliability. And I go back to the fact that, industry needs this. You look at, we have a fairly strong manufacturing base here in our community. And so from that aspect of it, being able to know that they're going to have a reliable energy source, whether they need electric, whether they need natural gas, it's here. They have access to it. And from the perspective of Republican, Democrat, everybody should be supportive of the fact that this is keeping jobs, good paying jobs here in our area, whether they're directly related or completely unrelated to the natural gas industry. It's still something that plays a key part in being able to make sure that we have that energy here to be able to tap into.
Well, gentlemen, needless to say, I've lost control because we're now after 1 o'clock and I wasn't even close to doing a wrap up. I truly enjoyed this conversation, but I also want to be respectful for those in the audience, and that was sort of your opportunity for your last words. My apologies. I will address one issue that came in on a question that I may be better focused on answering. It has to do with what happens when the gas dries up. And I will tell you from Cabot Oil and Gas's standpoint, when we look at Susquehanna County or the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, 13 years ago, there was zero energy produced in Susquehanna County. Now it's the leading county in the United States. And we can see projections 100 years forward. So the idea that it's here and gone, that's not reality. We have a long history as an industry of operating throughout. And I think pieces that Western Pennsylvania sees, especially when crackers come online, there's a stacked play there. There's an opportunity for drilling to increase. So I can't recall which operator it was, but it said drilling was just a future, or drilling was just a beginning, because this future is bright. We see it happening. We're appreciative for those that took place and sat through and listened today. Again, I can't thank Jeff, Jason, and Alan enough for this opportunity to share the stories that you're seeing head on.